Hey everybody, welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. I'm Wyatt, joined by Alex this week, and we're going to be reviewing the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre from Netflix. Spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it before you watch the rest of this movie, because we're going to get deep into the movie here. I thought the sunflower stuff was going to happen at the beginning of the movie. I was kind of surprised that happened a little later with, them transporting, they're trying to get that lady to the hospital, which, they go into the town. They find that somebody's still living in that orphanage. She's been living there all these years. They say that they have the deed to it. They try to kick her out. She says that she paid the money to the bank and that she has the deed. They try forcing her out. They bring the cops in. She ends up having like a heart attack or whatever. They try to get her to the hospital. Lo and behold, they didn't have the deed for this place.
Which is terrible writing. No cops are gonna be like, "Oh, you own the house? Let me get her out right now." Like,
Yeah, they're like,
they
all
would have
right,
been
we
like,
need to see a proof.
yeah,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
not just gonna throw her out.
They just take this lady. Like, one, she would have squatters' rights even at that point. And I only say this, and I'm getting sidetracked a little bit, but I only say this because, like, if you would buy like a housing development like that,
Yeah,
like you're responsible for evicting all those people. Like, they have squatters' rights there. Like, not that you can't get them out, but it's like a process. You can't just
yeah,
like call the cops and be
yeah.
like,
You're out.
"Get the fuck out," you know? Like, that's not how it works.
Did you notice whenever because they get there and they see that like Confederate flag and they're expecting all these investors to come in, so they want to take it down. I don't know if you noticed it. I barely glimpsed it. Whenever he goes up into the attic to go out the window, you see Leatherface sitting there in the chair, and whenever it goes back, he's gone. I don't know if you noticed that at all.
I did not
Yeah,
know.
whenever he walks up into like the attic, it shows like in the dark corner, you see him sitting there in a chair. And then
Hmm.
whenever like it kind of pans back, he's gone. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. They don't do that again, like the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but I
Like
think that's good horror where you like don't have like you're like it's like Michael Myers where you just see him walking in the
exactly.
background, you
And they
know.
only did it that one time. They didn't like try to do that again. And I think they should have tried to do that later. Like give it a little bit more suspense instead of him just kind of busting in and, and running around and killing people.
His
Um,
preferred weapon is a chainsaw though, so it's kind of hard for him to get suspense. Like it's the
That
loudest
is
shit
that is
ever.
true. That is true, and they really give him all the chainsaw kills in this one mostly.
And they give him a
Um,
lot.
but yeah, that's really what sets up the movie because they're rushing this lady to the hospital, and he's kind of like taking care of her, or she's taking care of him, I guess.
Yeah.
But he picks her up and takes her to the van, and of course she dies on the way to the hospital, and that sets him off.
I I got that was one of my first notes is I liked the emotional connection he had to this woman. I imagine it's his mom, sister
I don't
maybe.
know. I don't know.
Um
I mean, I guess she's just been running that orphanage all these years, and my guess is 'cause that's the thing. They don't explain. It's so vague. Because I want to know, like, did he grow up there, or did he go there after the
he
events of
killed
after
everybody.
the events of the first one? Like, whenever Sally got away, they had to kind of flee, and then he went back to the orphanage. I wanted them to kind
Yeah.
of know, did he live there and then go live with the Sawyers and then go back, or what was the process
Yeah, because
behind it?
she seemed to know him and know what he did
Yeah,
because she says later after she dies, like, "Don't go in my room," which I'm
yeah.
assuming is to, "Hey, don't go get your chainsaw," is what I'm assuming
That
that
yeah.
meant. But like, so she seemed to know what he did, but that was a little confusing. I liked his emotional connection to her. I
Yeah,
liked it. He didn't just come right down and start killing people.
I
Like he
did
actually
too.
was like, "I want to take care of this lady first."
Yeah,
But
and it
I
seemed like
like
these
that.
people knew he was there, kind of, because the police, they kind of gave the impression that this isn't the first time they had to deal with this lady. They've been
Yeah.
there before, and it seems like they knew him. So it seems like he's been kind of there and helping her out this whole time, not murdering people, obviously, but and then that's whenever you get the one of the first crazy kills of the movie, and then I have a problem with it, but at the same time, it was cool. But he
It was
just
cool.
straight snaps this dude's like wrist in half just with one hand, and then stabs him with his own bone, which was pretty wild to see.
Again, this
It's creative.
70-year-old man. No, it
Yes,
was fun. It was a fun kill.
I don't even like 70 or not. I don't see anybody breaking somebody's wrist like with one hand and then stabbing him with the bone. Like that is outrageous.
I feel like The Rock could split my wrist. I got pretty
You
skinny
think with
wrists.
one hand,
I mean, again, not a 70-year-old man, but I feel like The Rock
The
could maybe
Rock
do it.
could?
Yeah, he's a big fucking dude. Um,
Um,
I'm with you there though. Like, before we go too far, I
yeah,
gotta say though, the the intro to me, I know you said you really liked it. I didn't even know these characters' names. We were like 25, 40 minutes into the movie, and I'm like, who are like I knew who they were, but I was like, so in the ambulance, the girlfriend of the guy goes with her.
Yeah, 'cause
And
somebody had to go, I guess.
yeah, Marissa said to me, she's like, "I don't think they gave her a name." And I was like, "They must have," but, like, I could not
I didn't
recall
know, man.
to the life of me what this person's name was. And, like, I was like, "Ugh, that's so weak."
Yeah, a lot of the characters are just there to die, and especially
Just yeah,
her. Yeah, that causes the crash, which you see in the trailer, where she's in the van, and she's sitting there trying to open the door, but she could have literally just pulled the little like unlock the door right there because she's sitting there
yeah,
trying to unlock it, and then she presses the button, but you see the little black knob there. She could have just pulled up and opened the
she
door
just grabbed it and did it.
instead of trying to climb over the dead cop there. But as she's sitting there, you see, I guess it's a ritual for him. My guess is he hasn't worn anybody's face all these years, but he immediately cuts off his I don't know, his mom or grandma or whatever who was taking
Yeah.
care of. He cuts off her face, and that's the mask that he's wearing through the course of the movie.
Here's another one of my
I don't
bigger
know how it
complaints about
stays
this movie.
on there because
That was out how
there's
the fuck did he keep that face so like, from the wetness of it? Like, did he
it
stick it on
just
his
sticks to his face. But even
like,
so,
I
it's
don't
raining like the rest of the movie and
yeah.
stuff. But like, yeah,
Like,
there's no like nothing tying it around his head or anything. He just sticks it on his face.
perfectly sticks on his face too. Doesn't slide, doesn't move. Like it's perfectly where it's supposed to be the
Yeah.
entire time. That was one of my. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Like I said before, I think they could have did a better job with the design because there's some points in the movie where it looks great, and then there's some where it just looks meh. It just kind of looks weird in some areas of the movie. But there's some points that it looks pretty cool. But I think they could have did a little better job with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think they one explained why he. If you're gonna go back this far, you just need to explain more. You know, you need to tell me more why. Why is he cutting this lady's face
Yeah.
off? Like, what's his shtick here? And I'm with you. I don't know. It just felt weird to me.
Yeah, and I mean going back to because we didn't mention it, the very beginning, they kind of showed kind of a summary of the first movie, and it's kind of like a made for TV documentary, like a true crime, and it's just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the
Which I
TV.
liked.
I thought it was interesting, an
I
interesting
like
way to
that.
show it.
I like that
Um,
they didn't make it like the most important thing in the world. Like I feel like a lot of horror movies make it feel like this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to this planet. Like to be honest with you, if that shit did happen down in Texas, we probably would just like
they make it the biggest thing that happened in that area.
sure,
Yeah,
sure, I'm
yeah,
with that.
that's because
But
like
it
they're
just
selling like little like you see comes later, like the little corkscrew chainsaw that she buys.
yeah, yeah, but it didn't make it seem like like and I'm not hating on this franchise, but Scream, when you're watching the Scream movies, it makes it feel like it's this worldwide phenomenon. Like people murder people all the time in the world. Like it would be such a drop in the hat, you know, like
Yeah,
especially with the Scream movies, like it's just like a small town murder, you know, like nobody cares.
yeah,
This is what this would be, and I like that angle. I thought they were gonna lean heavier in that angle, but they didn't, which is fine.
yeah. And then that's when it kind of spirals just out of there. He comes back and then starts just killing everybody in the town that he can find. They're also trying to find the deed to this place. The I don't want to call him a redneck, but Richter or whatever his name is. He steals their keys because pretty much
He's a
them
jerk.
being involved kind of inadvertently killed the woman, even though they didn't kill the woman. She just kind of died. But he takes their keys because they led to her death, and he wants proof that they have a title of the house before he gives them their keys back, pretty much. And that's the reason why they're trapped there at that point. And they go searching for the title, and that's whenever Leatherface just kind of starts killing everybody. The one cool death I thought, and it was very toned down at first, and then you see the real damage that happened was the one dude that was in the kitchen who Leatherface catches up, and he just takes the cleaver to his face, and you see the door kind of flipping in and
Yeah.
out, and it just kind of shows him standing like in different places whenever it swings back. But you don't really see the aftermath. You just kind of see it off screen, and then when the dude kind of gets up and escapes, you see like half his face is like
It's
hanging
like,
there. It's like
yeah.
the effects in this were pretty great as well. There really wasn't too many CGI gore or anything. It was pretty much all practical effects from what it looked like.
Yeah, not that I
Um,
noticed.
yeah. So I mean, a lot of the gore and the kills and the dismembering or facial stuff. It was very well done in this movie. But that's what alerts everybody that, you know, there's something bad going on here. He kind of goes out and just kind of dies in the middle of the street.
Yeah, this is where the part of the movie that started taking a downward spiral for me. Right before that, they introduced the original survivor of the movie. The I don't know her name, but
Yeah, and we mentioned
um,
this before. They didn't need to do this at all because it was just a blatant, you know, this is
copy of
what they're.
Halloween.
It's yeah, copy of Halloween. She's almost wearing almost the exact same thing Jamie Lee Curtis was wearing in 2018 Halloween. And I mean that's just a thing that they're doing now because I know like in Chucky, I know Andy comes back in the series. Uh, Scream, they got Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox to come back. It seems like all these requels are coming back. They're bringing all the, you know, the original character back, you know, to redeem themselves or take out the murderer. Uh,
I think,
and this
and I've
just
seen the
was very
Chucky.
like a carbon copy of Halloween, closer than
This was
anything.
this was the most blatant copy. Like even before, and I did see articles on the internet about how people were complaining about it too. But even before that, in my notes, I wrote, "This is a copy of Halloween. Like
Oh
this
yeah,
is the exact scene." But even like with the Chucky series, like while Andy is in it, he isn't like the driving force of it. He's just kind of a character. Where I
yeah,
felt like she was a too big of a role if they wanted her more like an Andy, and too less of a role if they wanted her like
yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis character. Like she was just there and
She,
gone. Like
yeah,
didn't need
she
her
didn't need to be there at all.
at all.
They could have just figured it out. Like I understand because one of the spots they had her go and find, you know, the van in the middle of the field where Leatherface, you know, they killed that girl with no name and cut the face off. And this was actually a cool scene because it kind of goes back. It's something you've seen before in the original where they go where she goes out in the middle of the field and they find like he set up the body in a certain way with the face missing. And I thought that was cool because I mean that's what you see in the original, like the grave robbers, and they set up the bodies in like different ways and stuff. So I mean, I thought that was kind of cool how they did that, even though she wasn't really necessarily necessary to the plot. Um, but I thought that was kind of cool. The girl hiding under the bed, I thought that was kind of a tense scene where she's just kind of hiding in the house, kind of hiding
I
in
thought
the
it was.
closet.
I thought it
Um,
was. I agree. It
yeah,
went on for a while too. Like
it
she was
did
under that for a while.
for a yeah, trying to keep
Yeah.
quiet, and I thought it was cool. You know, Leatherface comes back, he's pissed off. He's sad. He's holding one of. He goes in the closet. He grabs one of her dresses and holding, and starts putting like makeup on her on you know the face that he's wearing.
Yeah.
You know, and you've seen that in all these other movies as well. And then he gets pissed off because he sees all like the bus full of people outside, starts throwing shit around. Get the guy that gets killed, you know, the cleaver of the face, and then you know the redneck guy comes in. He gets his he gets his leg broken, which is pretty gnarly, and then he
Yeah.
just gets his head completely demolished in with a hammer.
That had to be probably the most brutal kill of the whole film. I was like, holy shit.
Oh
I was
yeah,
like, yeah, I was like,
he has like
damn,
no
that's
head left, and
yeah.
then he I don't know why this chainsaw they just put it in the wall for 50 years. And then it immediately starts up.
Runs fine,
It
yeah.
runs
Not
fine.
no rust, no nothing. Runs
Yeah.
fine.
Runs fine after all these years. And then she was able to, you know, get the keys. Like she was kind of trying to escape with the keys. She was crawling over the railing, trying to avoid them. Now, this is another example of his kind of above average strength where he throws the hammer and it just knocks her off the stairs through the floor.
Yeah.
Whereas like she would be gasping for air if that hammer hit her in the chest. It would have like caved her chest in, I feel, at that point. Uh
She just looked up.
nope, she's scurrying underneath these floorboards. And I thought it was kind of cool, you know, he's running the chainsaw through the floor after her and stuff. Kind of cool.
This
Uh
is one of those classic scenes though where like something's chasing somebody, you're like, move to the fucking side. Like
yeah.
roll. Like there was plenty of room on either side of her. Just roll
Just roll,
away.
just
Just
run
roll.
crawling in a straight line.
Straight line as he chainsaw. I mean, cool scene. I do agree, but like as I'm watching, I'm like, fucking A, just roll.
But yeah, that's whenever they run out, they're getting into the bus trying to escape, and you know he slashes the tires, and you get the bus massacre scene, which you see in the trailer. Super cringy, where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna cancel you, bro. Don't even try anything." Like I even in the trailer, I was like, "Oh, really? Like, come on." Like that's just terrible writing.
Yeah,
Um,
but you got to bring it to like what the modern world
I
hates, and most people
guess.
hate those kind of people. So we're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
I want to see him die.
Every one of these people you hate, and they
Yeah,
all get it, you know. And it's you expect any other movie that you would see like maybe one or two kills, and then you kind of see an outside of the bus kind of panning out with just blood on the window, and then it would just cut to another scene. No, this shows you everything. There's
Yeah,
a
this is like a 5-minute
chainsaw
scene.
massacre on this bus, and he's just slaughtering everybody, cutting people in half. The chick tries to climb out the window. He cuts her in half, and she
Way
falls.
too late though. Like,
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, while he's killing somebody. All these people could be climbing past him, or like,
yeah,
or
can't kill
gang,
us all.
or gang
We're
up
ganging
on
up.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Beat the 70-year-old man's ass. You
Yeah,
know.
like I understand it's a chainsaw and you don't want to fuck with a chainsaw, but there's so many people you could just gang up on him and just
Yeah.
fuck him up. Like do something. And even I mean the two main characters they had it right, they just went straight to the bathroom and shut the door while all these people were getting murked. And I thought that was a cool like scene where they're just you just shows all this just pool of blood just coming underneath the door. I thought that was kind of cool. But I thought the atmosphere was kind of cool, you know, like the blue lights and stuff. It was something different, you know, that brought to it. But it was definitely a highlight of the movie. It kind of reminded me of the hospital massacre in part 6 of Halloween. You don't it's
Mm.
nowhere near as gory, but it you know just kind of like the flashing lights and just how he's just murking everybody. It kind of reminded me of that. But they were able to successfully get out. He
The
tries to
lady
hit him
shows up. The old survivor. She shows up at
after
this
the
point, right?
after the bust. Yeah, she shows up and she pretty much locks him in the car because they're the bait. She says that
Yeah.
he wants them, so she stay. They're not leaving until she kills him, and she has him dead to rights. She has
Dumb.
him a shotgun to his head, man, and
Just
she's
sits there.
like she's sitting like
Dumb.
the whole build up to this is like I've been waiting all this time to kill him,
And
and
then
she
doesn't.
could have just
Yeah.
shot him in the head at the end of this movie right there. But no, she's like, I want you to say my name or whatever. And she just
Remember
lets,
me.
yeah, remember me, and she just lets him pick up the chainsaw and walk out. Like he's not
Yeah.
even like it was like Thanos, where he's like, I have
Yeah.
no idea who you are.
I don't know who you are, bitch. See ya. Which was cool for him, but for her, I'm like, this is stupid as shoot this man.
Shoot this fucking
Shoot him.
guy. Like, what does it matter? Like, you just
Yeah,
want
what
him
does it
dead.
matter if she remembers you or not? We you said about the girl and the main character, and it's funny to me that you just brought up the main girl. As soon as I saw this girl, I was like, oh, that's the survivor.
Oh
But
yeah.
like the whole time I'm like, this is the most boring character I've ever seen. Like they didn't delve into this character at
At least
all
the
up to this
one.
point.
The her
No,
sister
but
you kind of delve into just because you find out like she was a victim of like a school shooting and
yeah,
all this, and
look,
you even
barely, man.
barely because you get that, and I think that's a scene I kind of liked where she's kind of bonding with that dude that's fixing up his truck, and she
Yeah.
asks him like, oh, you have a like what you have a gun here? Is it loaded and all this? And she's kind of like kind of bonding with him, kind of telling him her story a little bit, and I thought that was nice. It was a kind of cool little scene. But that's it. That's really all the character development you get out of this.
I had way more connection with her sister, the Broad City girl, than I
Mhm.
did with the like. Even though I knew the other girl was the main girl, I was like,
Yeah,
that had to have been the one of the most underdeveloped main girls I've ever seen. Like
I
she
agree.
basically got one scene and that's it. And I'm just like, Jesus. And for a lot of the like action, a lot of the killing, she wasn't even present. Like she's completely gone from a lot of like I don't know. I feel like a main girl has to be involved in this shit, and she was just not there for fucking most of the movie. Like not that she wasn't there, but she wasn't involved in the central plot. You know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So
Yeah.
she was very underdeveloped. But anyways, Survivor comes back
Yeah, she lets him go, and then as he's trying to kill them in the car, she decides to shoot him finally.
finally.
And it doesn't really do much, of course. And then she's like finally tells him, "Oh, get out of here now." All of a sudden, like now you
Oh,
can leave.
oh, yeah.
And that's whenever they try to help her, but you know they bring her all the way. They bring her all the way back after all these years to try to kill him, just to have her get killed almost
Have him
immediately.
put a chainsaw right in her gut.
Yeah, and that was a
Like
gnarly kill, and then just throws her and just throws her.
kill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we'll
it
get
should
there.
have. When you get if you get a chainsaw shoved completely through you, and while it's running, and then you get thrown, you would think you would be instantly dead.
Instantly
Um,
dead.
but
She
yeah,
comes back in a few minutes.
and you know they try to hit him, they veer off, they crash into that little warehouse area. Uh, Broad City girl, she gets stabbed, she's like impaled there, she can't get out. She tells her sister to go, like she's gonna die. She's like, I'm gonna die at this point. And her sister leaves her, but then I actually thought this scene was kind of cool as well, where Leatherface walks up to her and she's just kind of apologizing. She's like, "I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
I did this. We didn't mean for any of this to happen and all this." Uh, and that's when like her sister tries to save her again, like by grabbing the assault rifle that the dude had there, but of course she had the safety on.
Or wasn't loaded or
Or
whatever, because
wasn't
it never
loaded.
comes, yeah, it never
Um,
comes back up.
and then you have the 70-year-old dude pretty much just chase her down across the street. Like he's like on her ass with that chainsaw the whole time. Where it's like it's hard enough to run at 70 years old where you're huge, but you're carrying a chainsaw as well, and you're keeping up with this chick.
Chasing a 20-year-old, maybe 22, let's say 23,
Yeah.
like who looked in
Um,
pretty good health too. Like she
yeah,
could probably get
exactly.
out of there.
And that's right whenever she's about to get killed, Sally
Yeah.
somehow is still alive and shoots him one last time. And pretty much just tells her, finish this off. You gotta kill him, or else
Yeah.
it's gonna keep haunting you for the rest of your days. You're gonna wonder like, what if? And like pretty much what she's been doing all these years.
Which I thought
Uh,
was dumb too. Fuck that. Get the fuck
get the
out of
fuck
there.
out of there. Yeah, at
Yeah,
that
what are you
point, why
talking
not?
about? I'll live with nightmares. What are you talking about? You're dead, bitch.
Yeah. So I mean, I would have still taken the assault rifle, but she picks up the shotgun as well. I would have taken both. But then you have the final showdown, like at the abandoned theater, where for some reason there's this huge pool in the middle and through the
Yeah.
broken. He sets her up. You hear the chainsaw running. She finds it, and of course it's a setup. He attacks her, like dives into the water, and they're in there for a minute. So I'm guessing it's a pretty deep area. I don't know how it was there or why it's there,
Yeah.
but for the plot of the movie, it is. Uh, she gets out, and her sister comes back to save her, of course. And they're able to, kill Leatherface, shoot him a couple times into the water. And then you get one of the funniest scenes in the movie, man, to me, when they get into the Tesla. They put it on autopilot just to get away, which I don't know why you would be doing that. I would have just tried to gun it,
Gun it. Gun
get
it.
out of there, man.
Teslas are fast too. They go real quick.
Get out of there. But no, you put it on you put it on autopilot, and you're just sitting back. And
Chilling.
this is hilarious to me because he rips her, his Broad City girl, out of the car, immediately cuts her head off, and then it looks like he's kind of like, it looks like he's walking towards her, but to me it kind of looked like he was kind of like doing a little like jig, like haha, I got you. Um, but I just thought that was hilarious to me because he's just kind of sitting there holding like, oh, what now, bitch? And she's just out of the sunroof, like, oh. And then you get pretty much, well, most of
the
these
iconic
movies
scene.
have, Leatherface just kind of spinning the chainsaw around in the middle of the road. You see it in
Yeah.
most of these movies. And then it just kind of ends. Did you see the after credits?
Oh, I didn't. What was the after credits?
Oh, it was very tiny. It was like at the very end of the credit. It wasn't like a mid credit scene or anything. It just shows Leatherface walking down the road, and he's walking to the Sawyer house from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's walking down the driveway to the original house, and it looks all like gross and like
Beat
grown
up,
over
yeah.
and beat up. So my guess is if there is a sequel to it, it's going to be set in the original house again. So who knows? With a direct sequel, to original movie that was directly released to Netflix.
Probably not.
I don't see a sequel happening at this point, unless a ton of people watch it. I don't know, but Netflix, they're notorious for kind of getting rid of, shows early and movies. They don't waste any money, and they don't waste their time with anything like that.
Let's be honest, Wyatt. Would you support a sequel for this?
Probably not, unless there is like
if
a
you
ton
had to
of
put up
view-
$10 million to do this, would you put up $10 million to put
Probably
another
not.
movie out?
Now I didn't look because I mean horror movies and slashers in general are relatively
cheap.
cheap to make.
Yeah.
Now would they do it? Probably only if there was a ton of viewers for this movie. I don't know what the budget was for this.
20 million. Oof.
20 mil.
That's according to IMDb, 20 mil estimated budget. That's a big budget
That is a pretty big budget
for a horror film. And
But-
I didn't realize this while watching this. This movie's only an hour and 20 minutes long, which isn't that long of a
No,
movie.
I saw that because the day it came out, I wanted to see how long it was. It was only an hour, 26 minutes.
Yeah.
And right away, that's three things that, are bad signs. It's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel to begin with, directed Netflix, and it's only an hour and 20 minutes long. All three of those things don't equal to a good movie. But overall, I thought I was entertained throughout. Like we mentioned before, it was a decent slasher movie, not a very good Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. You could have easily replaced Leatherface with just a generic killer, just a new made up
Hatchet.
killer.
You ever watch the Hatchet?
Hatchet, yeah,
Yeah,
Victor
could have been him.
Crowley.
Could have been him.
Um, exactly, and that was the thing that bothered me about Leatherface is kind of they made him like a Victor Crowley or a Jason Voorhees, where he's just this hulking dude with pretty much unlimited strength that he could do whatever he wanted. They didn't really
Yeah.
ground him at all, and he kind of just took those shotgun shots like nothing. So I mean, it is what it is. It's a slasher movie, so you can't, and that's a fair thing about it. That's what a lot of people are trying to tell people that are kind of shitting on the movie is what do you expect from a Texas Chainsaw Massacre slasher movie? It's not going to be groundbreaking as far as story or anything like that. So I mean, as far as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, it did what it was supposed to, I guess. There was a lot of cool kills, a lot of gore. I was entertained throughout. I wouldn't say it's garbage by any means. I was entertained. Now out of a 10, I would probably give it like a 5.5. It was very like mediocre.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think I'm a little harsher on it. Um, I agree with you that in the sense that what the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, this isn't gonna hit those numbers for you, like
Yeah.
he's not a very interesting character to begin with. And the first one is so famous because of the grittiness of the filming, but
Yeah, and
like
how realistic it
how
is and stuff.
realistic and how like sickening it is. Like, but the story of a psycho guy isn't like a classic story. Like it's been done before 1,000
Yeah.
times, So I think out of all the serial killers, he is the most underdeveloped. Jason
Yeah.
went and he became very supernatural. Even Freddy Krueger, he's like the dream thing. Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Massacre is just like a crazy guy,
Because I mean, the thing with that they don't get is with Leatherface, he was never really he wasn't the driving force.
No,
It was always like the family that was around him,
and
that was
he's the boss character of it,
he's the muscle for him.
Yeah,
It doesn't work well with Leatherface as, the driving force, as the main threat. You have to have the family around him.
that's what I was getting at. Yeah, he's just another ensemble cast, the most recognizable ensemble of it, but for sure the movie's about the ensemble, like I need everybody,
Yeah, and I
you
think
know.
that's where you see it work out the best.
Yeah.
If it works at all, the ones that actually have a family around him, where it's not just Leatherface, it seems like it kind of works a little bit better, because you're very limited if you're just doing Leatherface.
Yeah, because he doesn't talk or anything,
Yeah,
and
he's simple.
you can do that. I mean, we've seen it before with like Michael Myers or something. But the thing about the new Halloweens is they follow Jamie Lee Curtis so much
Yeah,
that that's the character we follow. Where
yeah,
this one followed characters we don't care about,
and
and
kind of
then they
inserted Sally a little bit in there.
exactly, and then it's following Leatherface, which had no lines. He's not interesting. They didn't delve on anything further with him. Where let's use a bad horror movie example, like Halloween Resurrection, I think it is, with Buster Rhymes and
Yeah,
stuff. I'm not saying that movie's good at all, but in the sense of a bad horror movie, at least it tried to explain some shit about Michael, that he had an
yeah.
abusive, like it tried to explain that shit, which is interesting for a schlocky horror movie, where this did none of that. It was just like, here he is, he killed people. So
Yeah, they were very vague. They didn't explain what he was
nothing.
doing, why he
Yeah.
was there, or anything like that. I mean, they gave you the impression that he was a member of the orphanage at one point because it shows like the picture with like the big kid with his
Yeah.
face scratched out. So it gives you an impression he was there at some point as like when he was younger. But other than that, it doesn't explain what he's been doing all these years, why he's there, or anything like that.
Why he was in the
Um,
orphanage, and if he was in the orphanage, why was he at the Sawyer home? Like
yeah, and if you're gonna
what
bring back Sally, focus the story around her. Like make if
exactly.
you're gonna go all in with that with her, you gotta go all like you gotta do it. You gotta make her the central point of the story. Maybe have the kids here and there, like a
Yeah.
part of the story at some point, a smaller part, but focus on Sally if that's what you're gonna do. You can't just kind of just shoehorn her in there
Yeah.
for a couple scenes and expect it to work.
Yeah,
Um,
saying all that, I would give it a lower review. I'm at like a 4.8. Like I
Yeah,
don't know if I'd recommend it. I mean, yeah, I would recommend it if you're a slasher film. I don't regret the watch or anything, but I've seen much better schlocky horror
I
films,
agree.
and that's
Yeah.
all it is to me.
Yeah, and I mean, as I would recommend it as just a fan of slasher movies.
Sure,
It has a lot of cool kills, a lot of blood and gore, which I'm a fan of.
sure.
Um, but yeah, as a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, it's pretty bad. But it's still better than some of the sequels that are out there as
It
well.
was it was shot very well, and I
Yeah,
love the scenes where he's walking down and he's on the street of, like, the town. Like, those were very cool shot scenes where it's, like,
yeah,
raining and I like the whole scene where he's, like I wish it was more of him in the town killing people,
yeah.
like, where they felt very trapped in this town. Like, too
Going from
much of it
building
was
to building, like hiding in like different scenarios, like different
exactly.
areas. Yeah,
Like, him just tracking these people. I wish it was more of that. It had some cool set pieces,
I agree.
um, but other than that, it's pretty by the numbers, moving on kind of a story. It didn't give me anything new about the lore of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a completely skippable entry in the franchise, and you learn nothing from it, and you take away nothing from it.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's the best way to sum it up. And that's why it's not a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything different. It doesn't bring anything new to the table, and it doesn't answer anything
Yeah.
that's ever been in there as well. So it doesn't add anything to the story or to the lore of Texas Chainsaw really at all.
Could have been
Um,
any killer. We said it many times. Could have been anybody.
exactly, and I'm sure this is not the last time we will see a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Whether it gets rebooted again, if there's a sequel to this one, if they make a prequel to another movie, who knows? But I guarantee you that as long as somebody holds the rights to this, there's going to be another one at some point, whether it's straight to DVD or what.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, I would recommend this as a slasher fan. I cannot recommend this as like just a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie if you're a fan of those at all. But if you're just like if you like slashers and blood and gore, definitely check it out. I was entertained throughout, but like you mentioned, it didn't really bring anything new to the table.
I actually think it hurts the film for having the Texas Chainsaw Massacre name on it. If this was just any other film with an original title, I'd have watched it and probably enjoyed it more.
Yeah,
Um,
it might have been better if they just would
yeah,
have went that
it was
route.
it was shot well. It was like Wyatt said, good kills, good cinematography,
Yeah,
good slasher film. But the Texas Chainsaw not advancing the plot at all kind
kind
of
of
hurt
like
it.
season Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Yeah,
Nowhere near as good as that movie, but the name
no,
Halloween 3 being attached to it is what hurt it at that
it
point.
hurt it
If it would have been
exactly.
named just Season of the Witch or anything else, it probably would have been a good movie at the time. Like people probably would have liked it. But because it had the Halloween name on it, people hated
Yeah,
it,
that
did
I
not
have
like it.
expectations then.
Exactly. Just like
Yeah.
this with this one. Everybody expected, answers or, kind of expanding the lore of Texas Chainsaw, and it didn't really do that at all. And like what you said, it definitely kind of hurt, the franchise name as of right
Yep,
now. And that's what they just keep continuing to do is hurting the franchise name.
they've been getting worse and worse.
All right. Make sure to like and subscribe. As always, make sure to check out all the content across the channel here. We do have some new content that is going to be coming out here in the next couple weeks. We're not ready to announce as of quite yet, but we got something brewing in the works. So be on the lookout for that. Go follow us on Twitter at Waves 5 Media and Squad Pod Sports. Go follow Tap That and like and subscribe at Tap That Reviews. And we'll see everybody next time.